Welcome to Brew Crime, the podcast where we drink brews and talk about crime, conspiracies, or whatever catches our attention.
This is episode 100, part 2. If you missed part 1, head on back, check it out. But if you just want to be ahead of the class, here we go. We're going to jump right on in.
Fucking whirlwind of a story. I'm ready. Everyone fucks everyone.
Oh my god. No pressure.
Is this the same kind of show still where we can say those things?
Hold on, I'm ready. I'm ready. Yes, it is the same kind of show, and worse.
Okay, so before I get into this story, the pairing that I have is actually a wine because I didn't want beer, so that's good enough reason.
Yes.
I've chosen it based on the name, and you'll understand why once I get into the story. It's called Punch in the Face.
Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, if there's a bunch of craft beer people listening, which obviously there is, then they don't really care about what the wine bottle says. But
we do.
Okay, well, it's an Australian Shiraz, and it says, if you had something light and fruity in mind, then you best be pushing off, mate, because it's Australian. This ain't no tea party. It's a good old-fashioned, big-ass Southern Aussie Shiraz that'll sort you out in no time flat. Chock-a-block full of jam and spice with a smart little whack of oak. Yeah.
It's
an
Australian wine that's written by a Texan.
It probably would have been better with the accent, but I'm just not doing that. I'm not playing that game.
How is it?
Are you sure?
Yeah, it's good. I mean, it's a red wine that's dry, and that's really all I require out of a red wine, is that it's dry. So, yeah.
What, you don't want fruit juice?
No. No.
Wine's my favorite because it's the only liquid we can describe as dry.
Yeah.
You can actually say that about beer, too.
All right, listen, Mike.
No, you can't.
Yeah, you can.
No. Disagree.
Hold
I
on.
don't speak beer, but it feels weird.
Mortal Kombat! Bring it.
Yeah.
Nah.
Yes. So the case that I'm doing is about a woman named Jan Broberg, but when the story took place, she was a kid, so I'm just going to jump right in. So she was born on July 31st in 1962 in Pocatello, Idaho, to Robert and Mary Ann Broberg. She's the eldest of 3 children. Her younger sisters are Karen and Susan. And in June of 1972, the Broberg family became friends with Robert and Gail Berchtold and their sons. So they all lived in like the same neighborhood. They were all really religious, attended the same LDS church.
Oh, no.
I know. And the children were like all of the same age and attended the same school. Like both the dads even have the same name.
Wow.
Yeah. Which was really confusing when I was trying to do research from different sites. And it was like one of them would call one dad Robert and the other dad Bob. And
Just have to assume that the family tree is one branch.
yeah.
You'll be fine.
So for how my story is written, I'm going to call Robert Berchtold Robert, and then Robert Broberg, that's Jan's dad, he's Bob.
Okay.
Okay, so the 3 Broberg girls often went to the Berchtold house to spend time playing with their kids and with Robert, who seemed to love spending time with the kids. He was known as the fun dad, and he drove all the kids to and from school each day and took them for ice cream sometimes. So he was also really friendly with Bob and Mary Ann, the Jan's parents.
Yeah.
And frequently visited Bob at his florist shop and was like, they all made quick friends. And he even started discussing his failing marriage with Bob and Gail, which is especially weird at the time because this would have been in like mid-60s.
Yeah.
And they're all part of a fucking serious church. So it was a really big deal.
Yeah.
That's pretty personal for that kind of group.
Well, even taboo, like you don't get divorced.
No, you don't.
You just don't talk to each other and live in the same household.
Yeah. Different rooms or
Yeah.
whatever. Like, even if you weren't religious at that time, that's just how it
Yeah,
went.
no.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so, but, like, first weird point for me in the story is he started calling Mary Ann to bring him lunch at work. He'd just be like, oh, hey, I didn't bring a lunch today. Can you make me a sandwich? Like, you know how bread works, right?
I mean, I used to work at Subway, as you guys know, so I'm quite familiar with bread.
Oh, so
And
you're
the
a
interest
sandwich
it comes
artist, are
in.
you?
Yes, it was on my resume. Yep. Make a mean sub.
But it was in, like, small increments like this that Robert slowly broke down any boundaries that there was between, like, what could be considered a healthy relationship. So soon he was taking, like, just the girls for ice cream. And then he was taking just Jan out for ice cream or horseback riding, or really, like, any excuse for one-on-one time with just Jan. And Jan soon started referring to Robert as her best friend.
Which is fucking weird.
Yeah, she's like 11 years old, and he's a grown-ass man.
That's problematic.
Yes, Mike. Yes, it is. It is very problematic.
It's gonna get so much worse.
Yeah, I'm sure it will.
You don't recognize the story at all?
No, I don't know.
No. JT, do you? You do? Oh, good. It's fucked.
Okay,
Keep go.
so
Keep go. Keep go.
keep go.
What an ass.
I keep go. Yeah.
Keep go.
In June of 1973, Jan joined the Birchtold family on a trip to Seattle. Quick pause. I should have said like a trigger warning at the beginning of this for like child abuse and all of that. So she went on a family trip with them to Seattle, and at dinner one evening she was not feeling well. So Robert took her back to the hotel room. And one of Jan's few memories of that night is waking up and seeing Robert standing there in the room naked.
Ugh.
And when she...
Go back to ice cream.
I know. I'm sorry.
Things that make you go.
Ugh. Yeah.
Yeah, so in January of 1974, Robert was admonished by the LDS Church for having an inappropriate relationship with a young girl. And he began therapy because of this incident. This was unrelated to Jan. This was
Oh
a
my God.
different girl.
Isn't LDS the ones where, now if I'm wrong, but the somebody can make an accusation about somebody, but there has to be like two other people that have to like support the accusation before they actually take it seriously?
I can't remember if that's the Mormons or not.
Yeah, Warren's Jeff was the old one who
Or
did.
Jeffs, yeah.
Who Bad News Bears, but they have a new one now, as per Google. Russell M. Nelson.
Yeah, but I think
Nielsen.
aren't they still taking messages and or instruction from Jeff's in prison?
I mean, I don't believe publicly shared, no.
But
I think
yeah.
a lot of them got quite pissed off too because they sent him a lot of money and he was doing stuff he wasn't supposed to be doing. Anyways, fuck that guy. Back to this asshole.
That's a
Yes.
good.
Yes, so part of the therapy that he went to because of this incident was aversion therapy. So I don't know if you guys know what that is. So it's a treatment method, that's a stretch,
Yes.
where a person is conditioned to dislike certain stimulus because of its repeated pairing with an unpleasant stimulus. I just can't believe this sentence, but Robert convinced Bob and Mary Ann to have Jan help him with his aversion therapy. So this meant Robert would lay down in bed beside Jan while listening to a set of tapes that had been provided to him.
I'm attracted to little girls and I would like to lay beside your little girl while listening to video cassette. Yep.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, would you
No,
like
no,
PJs? Yeah. What the fucking crap?
Yeah. It's fucked.
So I've seen like interviews with Jan as an adult, and she remembers this happening. So her parents would like come up and, do their bedtime routine and made sure she said her prayers. And then they would just step out into the hall and Robert would come in and do his therapy.
No.
This was to help him work through this sexual abuse, like,
His urges.
yeah, let's just pretend for a second that this therapy could possibly work, which it has been disproven
Yes.
now. But just pretend that it could work. Why would you put the needs of this friend of the family above the safety of your own child?
Yeah, that's
For a second.
unconscionable, yeah.
Like, I don't understand. And this wasn't something that happened like once or twice. This was like 4 nights a week for like 6 months.
Yeah. I'm pretty speechless about that.
And it was later uncovered that the doctor that had prescribed this therapy had actually lost his license before he even met Robert. So he wasn't even a licensed therapist at the time.
I don't think any licensed therapist would ever say to do that.
I think
Because
they
they
might. Obviously, they did, and I think they might. But it's like, who the fuck are you going to find parents stupid enough to agree to it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like to shame people, but shame these parents because that is awful. Don't ever let your child.
No, you're supposed
in this
to what in the
situation.
face?
Yeah,
Kapow.
introduce my pairing punch in the face, because there's so many times while I was doing this research, and even before I was doing the research when I just knew about the case, where I was just like, I just want to punch these parents in the face.
I'd like to
Like,
use the
wake
bottle
up.
on the face of him, though.
Yeah, well, obviously him, right? He's
Yes.
human garbage, but the parents as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, but throughout this, it didn't occur to Jan's parents that Robert had any sort of, like, ill intent or whatever. Not even on October 17th of 1974, when he took Jan horseback riding and didn't come back. And initially they called Gail, his wife, to see if she knew where they were. And she said she didn't know, and convinced the Brobergs to just hold off on reporting Jan missing, because she was sure there was like an innocent explanation or whatever, right?
No. Never assume that. Just
Yeah,
sound the alarm right away, and if it's false alarm, then oops.
right. Fine, then false alarm.
Very, very rarely, and you all know this already about me, am I rendered speechless. And yet here I stand, absolutely speechless. And by that I mean sit. Here I sit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they did call the police, but not to report Jan missing. They were just calling to see if there was any, like, car accidents that the two may have been in. And when the police were like, nope, no car accidents, then they just waited.
And how long did they wait?
So on the 19th, so 2 days later, they called the FBI to report her missing. But they got an answering machine saying the office was closed for the weekend. And in case of emergency, they should call the office, the FBI office that's in Butte. But they didn't. They waited until the 22nd,
What the
which is a
fuck?
Tuesday.
Not even the Monday.
Right.
So she's gone for
your
what,
12-year-old
seven
has
days?
now been missing for 5 days. I don't understand. And why didn't they call on Monday?
Yeah, I don't know.
And when I was doing this research, and I had said to my wife, like, why would they not call on Monday? And she was like, oh, isn't that when Columbus Day is? And it is nearby when Columbus Day is, which I didn't even think of because I'm not American.
Yeah, no.
But anyway, yeah, what the fuck were you... Did you have a hectic schedule on Monday? What happened? Did you forget that she wasn't there?
Did you forget that she disappeared with your male neighbor and his wife doesn't even know where they are? Because we didn't.
No, we
I
didn't.
don't
Fucking
understand.
twat.
The FBI was finally notified on Tuesday, and they found Robert's car, and one of the windows had been smashed, and there was blood found on site. But the window had been smashed from the inside out.
Oh, jeez.
So he clearly tried to stage the scene. Yeah,
Not
so
a smart man.
no. So there was blood found in the area, but then just one set of footprints, his footprints.
Of course.
So it was pretty clear to them that he had drugged Jan and then moved her to a different vehicle. So they checked in with his wife, Gail, like, do you have any other vehicles? And she said, the only other vehicle we have is a motorhome, but it's in storage, so don't worry about it. And of course they checked,
Yeah.
and it wasn't there.
Of course not.
It was gone.
It's on a camping adventure, unfortunately.
Yeah. So after drugging Jan and making a pitiful attempt at staging his car, Robert had driven them to, I 100% guarantee I'm going to pronounce this wrong, Mazatlan, Mexico?
Mazatlan?
Sure.
I think so.
Why not, right?
Okay.
Bless you.
Yes, so that he had taken the motorhome with Jan in it to Mexico, managed to get them a marriage license because the age of consent at the time was 12 years old.
More vomit.
Yep. At the time. That is not the age
Yes.
now.
That's
Just
where you
wanna
have
be
to
clear,
start arresting and charging
Everyone,
lawmakers,
just
because
everyone.
that shouldn't be legal, period.
Yeah.
Different times.
So Robert used a bizarre form of manipulation to get Jan to do what he wanted. He had put speakers in the motorhome and had a voice modifier that he used to make her believe that she had been abducted by aliens. These aliens, Zeta and Zethra, convinced her that she herself was part alien, and that it was her mission to have a child with the other abductee, Robert, before she turned 16, or the alien planet that she was actually from was doomed.
I haven't seen this X-Files episode, and this is really fucked up. Like, what the hell? Holy shit.
So if she did not comply, then the aliens would harm her family, abduct her younger sister Susan, who was also part alien, and Susan would have to take her place in this plan.
In this trailer.
Yeah. So Robert gave Jan books about reproduction and continued to use the alien voices to indoctrinate her and began sexually abusing her. So Robert's brother Joe agreed to let the FBI tap his phone. Robert had called to get Joe to tell the Brobergs that he would bring Jan back to the United States if they signed paperwork agreeing to let him marry her.
I mean, I would sign it with my fingers crossed, because bring her back, yes.
Yeah.
And then charge the shit out of this motherfucker.
Yeah, and then shoot him in the dick.
I like that
Yes, I
one better.
agree.
Sorry, Mike. I'm going to go with that one.
Yeah, no, I agree.
No pee-pee for you.
That's right.
No pee-pee for you. I forgot that Seinfeld episode. No pee-pee for you.
Yeah. So the call was traced, and local authorities picked up Robert and Jan on November 20th. After they were picked up, but before they were extradited, Robert bribed a jailer to bring Jan to his cell. He reiterated to Jan that she could not talk about the aliens or the pills that he had been giving her. Don't tell anyone about the sex, and nothing about the mission. The mission had to be kept secret, or else they were both in danger. She also couldn't have any type of relationship with any men, wasn't even allowed to talk to her dad. And if any of things did happen, then her sister Karen would go blind, and her dad would disappear, and Jan would be vaporized by the aliens, and then Susan would have to take her spot on the mission.
Jesus, sounds like one of the world's smallest cults.
I literally was going to say that, Mike. He sounds
Yeah.
exactly like a cult leader who has a membership of one.
Yeah.
Nice cuckoo.
Robert and Jan both returned to Idaho a few days later, and Jan remained convinced that the mission was real and that she still had to
Obey.
to, like, 4 years after she was rescued.
Well, she's just a baby. Like, she's a child, right?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously she's not a baby, but you know what I mean? She's just a child, right?
Yeah.
She doesn't know any better. This person has groomed her, and yeah, it's gross.
Like, if somebody gets out of a cult, like whether it's formal or informal, like quote deprogramming,
yeah.
like that has to happen. I can't even imagine if you're a child to start out with who goes through this and believes this truly, and you have to be pulled out of it. Like, it's just,
'cause kids' brains, it's just a little sponge.
Yeah.
Just take in everything.
yeah, exactly.
Yes, so Robert was charged with kidnapping. It would be more accurate to say that he was initially charged with kidnapping. So Robert had not only been carrying on a friendship with Bob and Mary Ann Broberg, he had also had intimate and sexual relationships with both of them separately.
Which is amazing, especially for like this
LDS.
religion, LDS. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not surprised.
So
That
today,
he found a way
I'm
into
going to
them.
bang your wife.
Yeah.
Tomorrow I'm going to sleep in your daughter's bed for my conversion therapy. And then tomorrow we'll schedule a little,
A little us time.
Yeah.
like, come on.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're apparently religious and yeah.
Oh, and it's not just religious either. Like, this is like very fundamentalist, right? So,
Wow.
Supposed to be.
yeah.
There's a certain level where religion cuts into fanaticism. And like at fanaticism level, you lose the religious level. Like,
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
it's horrible. And so I think that's it. Truly, like, if you buy into...
Nonsense.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for saying it. I was like, where can I go with this? I'm still testing the waters. But yes, nonsense. You kind of hit that level and yeah.
Well, your pairing is excellent because both of his
Don't you
parents
just
just
want to
are
punch them?
fucking
I know.
kicked to the hoo-ha.
I'm surprised my screens are still in one piece because I really just wanted to pick it up and toss it.
Yeah.
On Christmas Eve of 1974, Gail went to the Broberg's house and asked to speak to Bob alone. And she told Bob that Robert was going to reveal this information in open court unless the Brobergs signed an affidavit stating that they had given Robert permission to take Jan to Mexico.
No.
You'd think,
You think the
you'd
answer
think
would be
so.
no.
Because of this, the prosecution was forced to postpone and let Robert out on his own recognizance because they did sign the affidavit and they did take back basically everything that they had told the FBI.
Let me get that bottle.
So Robert moved to Ogden, Utah and worked for his brother selling cars. Gail and their kids stayed behind in the same house in the same neighborhood where the Brobergs were still living, and Robert visited every weekend to see his wife and kids and probably to,
Oh, I'm sure.
stalk Jan.
I'm sure.
So in my opinion, Robert's brother is nearly as problematic as Jan's parents, like from the research I've done, whatever, because he knew that Robert was a pedophile since they were like little kids.
Mm-hmm.
Because Robert had sexually abused their little sister when they were kids. So he knew. And he knew that that Robert was spending time
Bad news,
with
yeah.
this like girl Jan. And the first time that Jan saw Robert after the kidnapping was when she woke up one night in her bedroom and he was there in
for
her bedroom.
fuck's sakes.
And so were the alien voices that she had heard. So he reminded her that they had to stick to the mission, and Jan would get notes passed to her in school, setting up secret meetings. So he had other kids being, I'll give you $1.
They're in on
my
it.
God.
I'll give you $1 if you just give her this note.
Wow.
So she would be told to meet to go to this phone booth at such and such location, and at that time you'll receive further instructions. And then, the phone would ring and the aliens would be telling her what she needed to do next. And so he was still able to completely control what she was doing and, continue to force her to believe that this was a real thing that was happening. In the spring of 1975, Robert was calling Mary Ann almost every day and telling her that he loved her and that he needed her in his life. And she would sometimes ask why he married Jan, but mostly they just chatted.
But
What are you fucking talking about?
Jesus, this is...
This monster kidnapped your child.
Yeah.
And you're just having a
Chit-chat.
fucking chat.
Yeah.
even
just
Dr.
chilling.
Phil couldn't fuck this episode up. Like,
Yeah, no shit, right?
So
Ugh.
Robert swore to her that if she would just come see him in person, he could explain everything and that she would understand. And she did. She went to his motorhome that he was now living in. And instead of explaining everything, they started an affair.
Oh, for fuck's sakes.
And 4 days after it started, Robert called Bob and told him, I banged your wife, or whatever. I mean, I don't know what he fucking said, but it went on for 8 months.
The one that's been messing with your child disgustingly, and now you're sleeping with him. Like, what the actual fuck? That's just so twisted.
This is ridiculous. Like, this goes so deep. It's ridiculous.
I know. Yeah, so it went on for like 8 months, and during that time they saw each other 11 times. But during those 8 months, he saw Jan 9 times, including 2 times where they spent the night together. So obviously, that's what was really going on.
Yeah.
You know, was him just trying to get access
to the house to her.
To Jan again.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Any way possible.
Yeah. So in March of 1976, Bob filed for divorce because of this, served Marianne with a subpoena saying that she needed to leave the family home because she couldn't be trusted to be around her own children.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
For sure.
Finally, right? Robert tried to convince Marianne to agree to the divorce, but fight for the kids, that he could get them a place in Utah and that everything would be okay. Marianne sought legal advice, and the lawyer advised her to get the hell away from Robert because he is obviously a horrible person. I don't know why you would need a lawyer to tell you that, because it seems pretty fucking obvious. So she went back to Bob, begged for forgiveness, and promised to end things with Robert, and Bob took her back. So that lasted long.
Bobbert.
In June of 1976, Robert took a plea deal and was convicted of felony kidnapping, and the judge sentenced him to 5 years. This was for taking Jan to Mexico. So he got sentenced to 5 years, but it was reduced to 45 days. And he had to report to jail within 3 months.
For all those lawyers and judges who aren't listening to this, any crime that he was convicted of should never be allowed to have a plea deal. Ever. No plea deal for certain crimes. It just should not be the case. Ever.
Yeah. And no delayed, like, turning yourself in. That's like,
at
you're
your
going
own
to jail
convenience.
instantly.
Yeah. I agree about the plea deal thing, but without the parents saying, like, no, we didn't agree to this, that was the problem. That's why they had to do a plea deal.
Yeah, because of the consent ages and stuff, yeah.
But I don't understand the sentencing.
No.
45 days is a joke. And on top of that, it's like 45 days to begin at your leisure. When it's convenient. Like when you can squeeze it into your schedule.
Some Martha Stewart sentence.
Yeah. Instead of reporting to jail right away, Robert continued his streak of getting away with fucking everything. He opened a family fun center in...
Oh
what the fuck?
Yeah.
Only little girls allowed.
Yeah. This family fun center was in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and he continued to call Jan and send her love letters, and Jan was so completely brainwashed by this point that she would send him love letters and repeatedly demanded that her parents let her fly to Jackson Hole so that she could work with Robert for the summer. But they wouldn't do that, right? There's no way, right?
Of course they would.
No, please.
Jan's mom drove her to the airport where she boarded a plane to go and visit Robert for the summer. Bob was outraged, obviously.
Yes.
Or sadly, not that obvious. What I don't understand is that he didn't, immediately go and get her.
Yeah. I'm glad you're outraged, but actually do something.
Yeah,
It's not enough to just make a Facebook post.
Yeah.
You can't just make... Thoughts and prayers aren't worth shit. Go do something.
Yeah. So here's part of my, contempt for Robert's brother. He was there. He worked at this fun center. He knew that they were living in this motorhome, that this, child was living with his pedophile brother. And he didn't do anything.
How old was she at that time?
By this point, she would have been, 14? Yeah.
Still so goddamn young.
Mm-hmm.
That time I spent up in Jackson Hole with them was just, I could tell they were happy. Happier than Bob had ever been. And I don't know why with the little girl, but I guess that's his deal.
That's not his deal. Like, fuck you. Like,
You fucking do know why he was so happy.
In no way was I prepared for any sound clip whatsoever. But if I had to assume what somebody sounds like, that would be it.
and when I was isolating that sound clip, I didn't know anything about the story, and I am so furious now after hearing that and knowing the story. Like, what the shit?
Like, he's part of the problem, obviously.
The whole family, both families.
Yeah.
They're all culpable, yeah.
Enablers.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Like, Jan could have been removed from her parents' care for, like, neglect.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean you're letting a grown man sleep beside her?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Who's been accused of, like, you know, yuck.
Yeah.
Blech.
Yeah, so she was there in his trailer for 2 weeks before he sent her back home. But sending her back home to her parents was just part of his long-term plan. On August 10th, 1976, Bob and Mary Ann realized that Jan was not in her bedroom, and they found the following note in her room. This is a quote. Dear Bob and Mary Ann, you won't let me do what's right, so I'll do what's wrong. I am leaving without B, and do not plan on coming back until you accept me as me. I cannot accept your religion or your screwed up morals. I just want to be me and have B. Please, before all of us are destroyed, let me go. End quote.
I mean, I don't agree with her parents' morals either, but that's not what this is about.
Yeah.
This is about pedophilia.
Yeah, but she's brainwashed. She doesn't
Yeah.
know that.
No,
She's
I know.
fucking
Understand
aliens.
that.
She's part alien. Like,
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
baby girl's got some fucking real fucking trauma here.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Robert called the house that afternoon saying that Jan had called him and that she ran away from home and wouldn't tell anyone where she was going, not even him. And Jan's parents believed this and did not notify the FBI for 2 weeks. Like, they still had contact information for the FBI agent that they'd spoke to the first time.
That's, oh my God.
Yeah. So, as if first time it happened was 5 days, and this is the second time, 2 weeks. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, just more proof that they should not have children in their
Care.
Yeah.
So if people asked where Jan was, they just told them that she was staying with her grandmother, and, like, it's just really clear that what they care about is appearances and
Absolutely.
not about the actual safety of their daughter. 3 weeks into Jan being missing, Robert reported to jail and began his bullshit sentence. You guys want to guess how much of his 45-day sentence he ended up serving?
15?
18 days.
10 fucking days.
10 days, Jesus.
Yep, and then he was out for good behavior. So,
There seems to be a repeated pattern in this episode so far of good behavior.
so once he was released, he permanently moved to that motorhome in Utah, and often called the Brobergs over the next few months to share in their fears for Jan and sometimes provide information that he had received from her. Things like that she was making money by stealing or selling drugs or selling sex. Unbeknownst to him at this time, all of the calls were being recorded by the FBI.
Finally.
Yeah. There's one call where he tells Marianne that he's still completely in love with Jan and wants to marry her. Like, that he's reached the point where he does, like, he's telling her parents this.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't even care anymore. Obviously, like, he knew exactly where she was this whole time, because when he kidnapped her the second time, on August 10th, he drove her to Pasadena, California, and enrolled her in a Catholic all-girls boarding school under the name Janice Tobler. So that he could have her there, hiding, serve his jail sentence, and then they'd be together again after. So he told the school that he was a CIA agent and that they shouldn't answer any questions about him or his daughter because of his very important and very secret work for the government.
Bullshit.
In November 1976, the FBI questioned Robert in his motorhome, and the interior was covered with, like, full poster-sized photos of Jan. Like, not pictures, like posters.
Ugh.
So they followed him to a phone booth that was near his motorhome where they saw him write something down, and they traced the phone number back to the school that Jan was enrolled in. And on November 12th, Jan and Robert were both taken into custody separately. And when Jan was returned to her home, she walked in and wordlessly went straight to her room and closed the door. Just walked right. Had been gone for that much time. Saw her mom, just walked straight past her, went to her room, didn't say a word. There's no discussion about where she'd been or what had happened. Like, she was a completely different person.
Speechless.
Yeah. On January 24th of 1977, Bob's flower shop was burnt down by two men who had been in jail with Robert. Allegedly, Robert promised them $1,000 per month for life if they would do this. Where did they think this fucking guy was going to get $1,000 per month?
From his fun park.
Yeah.
This is a criminal. Even if he only spent 10 days of a 45-day jail sentence, he's still got a criminal record now. You're not going to get a nice, cushy job that's going to be paying you multiple thousands of dollars a month.
Or running a fun park where there's children with your fucking...
Wow.
Yeah.
Hopefully he's not running that after this. Who knows?
When this happened, Jan believed that the aliens had done this because she had not fulfilled the mission yet.
Yeah, because
so
she
thought it
hadn't
was
had
her
babies,
fault.
right?
That's right. She still hadn't had a baby, so she thought this was all her fault. And in June of 1977, Robert faced first-degree kidnapping, arson, impersonating a CIA agent, and burglary charges. He was acquitted of the kidnapping by reason of insanity and committed to 6 months in a maximum security mental facility. And all the other charges were dropped for various lack of proof or whatever.
I've seen more ridiculous cases be turned down for insanity. This is ridiculous. What? How? He doesn't match the definition of legal insanity.
No, he doesn't.
What court was this?
Yeah.
Kangaroo court.
The two men that had actually committed the arson pled guilty, and Robert served his time, which was less than 6 months.
Of course it was. For good behavior, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. There's no children in prison, so safe.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, there could be children in prison, but not little girls.
Yeah, not little girls in that prison, yeah. Mm-hmm. I bet the guys that set the arson, or set the fires, probably spent more time in prison than this fucker.
Yeah, probably. When he was released, he stayed away from the Brobergs for the most part, but did still occasionally reach out to Jan. Now, as an adult, Jan believes that this loss of interest was actually due to the fact that she was 16 by now and didn't look like a little girl anymore. Yeah. She was starting to look like an adult, so he just wasn't interested.
She was now a teen instead of a preteen, yeah.
That's right. So it would actually take Jan until late of July 1978 to realize that the alien story was never true and that he'd been lying about it the whole time. And at this point, she finally opened up to her family about everything that had happened. Finally, she could begin to
heal
and start the process of living a normal life. Unbelievably, there's still more. Jump forward to October 2003, and Marianne has written and released a book called Stolen Innocence, the Jan Broberg story.
Parenting, how not to, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're so terrible parents. Stolen in it, like, it's your fault.
I 100% agree, but what's crazy about it is that Jan and Marianne, like, kind of co-wrote it. And to her, like, Jan forgives her parents 100%. Her point of view is that they were victims too. And I remember hearing an interview about that and her saying that. So I, like, went back and watched the, documentary about it, Abducted in Plain Sight. And I was even more like, I don't understand. Like, I could not get how she...
Like any maternal or like any paternal instinct you have. Your child is clearly not well.
Yeah.
Even if your kid just goes into like the bedroom and doesn't talk to you for like 2-3 days. Like, something is fucking
Something's
off.
Yeah.
Mind you, disappearing with a grown-ass man to Mexico.
There's something wrong there for sure. Yeah.
And you sleeping with him and your husband sleeping with him. Like, sorry. There's just...
Yeah.
Yeah.
When something like this happens, you know, there's various places where you can go to where you're just like, okay, this is the person who did it, or this is the fault of the person. And like, truly at a certain point, we're past like the whole quote forgiveness thing, and we're past the ignoring thing. Like, we're kind of at a point where it's like literally LDS and the religion that I really think is the overarching theme here. Not to like put us in the, you know, the crosshairs of LDS, but like, what am I trying to say? Like, you have this overarching theme overall of just like, not just religion, but really the interactions of each other within that sect, and like who's higher level, who's lower level, who's together, who respects each. Like, at a certain point, it's very evident that that's kind of something that played a huge contributing factor. Maybe I'm too far in terms of beers, but that's where I'm at.
LDS has definitely had their issues, continue to have their issues. There's a lot of sexual abuse of minors and trafficking of children and stuff. So
I definitely think that's where the shame and the absolute need for appearances that the parents had.
But it's still... But it's like, so you're so worried about this appearance, you're gonna, you know, tell the FBI, like, psych, no, he had our permission. And then you go make a fucking Netflix show and admit to all of it to, like, the freaking entire world. So pick your battle here. Are you gonna be a piece of shit in the closet or a piece of shit for everyone else? Because, like, they had their cake and ate it too in this, you know?
yeah.
Anyways, they wrote a book, and she co-wrote it, which is fucking wild.
Okay, so I heard this interview where Jan is like, has completely absolved her parents of any like guilt or whatever, which I don't understand. But okay, so she had to forgive them for her own mental well-being or whatever. Okay, but there's this part in the documentary where Marianne is talking about the affair that she had with Robert. And there's this fucking bizarre look on her face, like she's relaying this story of like this glorious memory that she has. You know what I mean? Like, she does not look like she feels bad. She's kind of like smiling and looking up and talking about it like it was her best fucking day. And it just makes you want to throw up.
Yeah.
And I just
Like,
don't
you're having
understand.
sexy time with someone who abused your daughter.
Yeah.
And continued abusing your daughter and potentially used you to just get at her.
And would continue if she stayed at that underage level.
Well, yeah. But
Yeah. So gross.
well, and also you have younger daughters, right?
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah.
hey, if he's, you know, this one outgrew his desires,
Yeah.
I don't know.
There's other victims.
those kids should have been taken away from them like
Yes.
It's all, yeah.
years before that.
So the other thing I will say, this documentary is great. You definitely should watch it. There's this one part where I'll get back to where I left off first. So they were doing speaking engagements, public events and whatever, and Robert started showing up and telling anyone that would listen that it was all lies, and he was trying to like protest them and whatever. He claimed that the Brobergs gave him full access to Jan in exchange for sexual favors. Yeah. On March 6th, 2004, he showed up at one of Jan and Marianne's speaking engagements and tried to enter the college where they were speaking, and it was stopped by security, and the police were called, and Robert fled, but one of the witnesses there got his license plate number, and he was later arrested, found to be in possession of a weapon. He was released on bail, but because of his escalating actions, Jan filed a stalking injunction. It's a restraining order.
Yeah.
It's just what they call it there. And it went to court, but he contested it because he fucking needs every ounce of attention that he can get.
Of course, yeah.
So she won the injunction, which is usually like for 3 years, and then you have to reapply. But the judge gave it to her for the remainder of her life. Like right off the bat.
So she doesn't have to relive it every whatever 3-ish years.
That's right.
Yeah.
So there's a scene in the documentary of them in court, and she fucking serves it to him. Like, she just intellectually slaughters this guy, and it's glorious. No thanks to her shitty parents. Anyway, after this had happened, there was 6 women, 6 separate women reached out to Jan and or Marianne to tell them that they had also been sexually abused by Robert after he had abused her. So if they had just like fucking done something, they could have been perfectly innocent. You know what I mean?
All 4 adults in this case should have been arrested and put in jail.
Yeah, and only one of those 6 was successfully prosecuted. And so Robert had been convicted of raping a child and served 1 year for that. He's got like a horseshoe up his ass or something.
Yeah, he does, yeah.
In November 2005, Robert's new case went to trial, and the jury found him guilty. And on November 11th, while he was awaiting sentence, he took his own life.
Again, I'm not sad that he took his own life, because this guy should have been behind bars for so long and should have not been able to continue to victimize a child.
Yep. So many children.
Yeah.
Like,
But he was
8.
enabled as well,
God, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
His brother knew. I can't talk about the other 6 victims, whatever. But Jan's parents knew what was going on. His
Definitely.
wife sure shit knew what was going on.
The church knew.
The church knew.
I don't understand much about the church, but I'm just saying, this is your fucking child. This is your husband.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Whatever. I don't know.
The church wasn't going to do anything because of appearances.
No,
It just wasn't going to happen. And this is definitely a story where it's just like,
One thing after another.
yeah, it's like benefit of the doubt, oh, fuck the benefit of the doubt. Like,
No.
it's gone. Like, that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
So I definitely recommend the Abducted in Plain Sight, but you are going to scream at your TV. Like,
I was literally just
guarantee
watching it being like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
There's an Amazon Prime miniseries. I haven't seen it because I'm too cheap to pay for the extras. A friend of
extra.
the family.
Amazon
Is
Prime video is free if you have Amazon Prime.
No, but there's some stuff that you pay for.
Yeah, there is some,
It's
Yeah,
not
I've
free
paid
on
for
Amazon
some.
Prime. Yeah. Anyway, so I haven't seen it, but I mean the cast looks good, and the story is obviously insane. I did have a palate cleanser for you guys after all that horribleness. I was doing my research, and I wanted to see how far it was from Pocatello to Mexico, because I was like, how the fuck did they travel that far? Because
Yeah.
what do I know about American geography? So it's like a 30-hour drive. But when I typed in Pocatello, there's only 3 pins on the map, and one of them is the Museum of Clean. It's a 74,000 square foot museum, and it brings you the excitement of the history of cleaning.
That's fucking
It's
amazing.
a family fun center, and they don't just have a toilet collection, they have the world's first vacuum.
I
You're
will
welcome.
never go there.
Oh, I love
You're
cleaning.
welcome.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm
fucking
saying
awful.
that or who I'm saying it for, but
Yeah.
Oh, I love cleaning, so I'm into that.
I fucking hate cleaning.
I like cleaning too.
Oh,
Stress relief.
awful.
Anyway.
Stressful.
It was too ridiculous to not
Yeah.
include it at the end there,
Thank
but that's my story. It was a roller coaster.
Yes. Wow. All right. Well, the title of my case is They Should Have Dropped This Guy into Mount Doom Like the One Ring. The case of Graeme Burton.
I can't believe we looped back
I
to
know,
Lord of
right?
the Rings this quickly.
It's beautiful.
But that was written.
do you know what's great is that we both quoted.
Yeah. The bookends. So you'll find out why I paired this beer in a little bit here. But this is Delirium Tremens, which is from Huygens, I think is the pronunciation of the brewery in Belgium. And it is a 8.5% strong Belgian beer. And I like all the elephants on it. Like
I hate that it's the gray though. Like
The
I like
bottle?
Oh, I think it
Yeah.
looks cool.
poo poo. You know why though? It's because it's a sellout. Because the top of the where you put your mouth hole is brown.
It's dipped.
yeah, it's definitely dipped. Was that JT?
You know, delirium tremens is actually a thing. Have you looked this up?
You know what? I did know something about
like
that,
it.
but yeah, I don't remember
It's
what
called
it was.
it's called DTs for short, but it's a rapid onset of confusion, usually caused by withdrawal from alcohol.
There you go.
So
We
you know.
had this beer on a previous.
Oh, I'm
I was
sure we
gonna-
have. Yeah.
I was gonna tell you the story because I chose this beer as a pairing previously, and when
Yeah.
I was at the store, this man-child that worked there was trying to help me with picking a beer, and he was like, "Oh, don't get that one; it's horrible." And I was like, "Oh, like what should I get?" And his recommendation was like fucking Blue Buck or some shit.
Yeah, which is fine, but
you know,
it's just like an amber or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
When a man child comes up to me and says, "Don't get it," that's exactly what I'm getting every time.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah, I did end up getting it anyway, but I
Yeah.
don't think he understood what I was looking for.
Yeah.
/ didn't actually listen to what I was saying.
Yeah, and I mean, just because he doesn't like it, don't tell someone to get something completely different that they're
Yeah.
not looking for.
Yeah, I remember going to the liquor stores to get like a pairing, and they just saw me looking like just dumb as fuck, staring at this wall of beers. And then they're like, "Oh, do you want help?" I'm like, "Oh, well, I'm looking for a pairing." They're like, "Well, for what?" I'm like, "Oh, for a podcast." They're like, "You podcast?" Then I explain it, and like half the expression was like, "Huh."
I'm gonna walk away now.
Yeah. They just slowly inch away, or they're like, cool.
Back away.
Those
back
are the
away.
only two options.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it was when the Dahmer episode where I was like, "Oh, well, yeah, I'm going to talk about Dahmer and cannibalism. Like, he's my favorite." And I was like, "Let me find a beer." Yeah, that was just.
That explains the reaction on the highway when they see the magnet on the side of my car.
Yeah.
Let's get away. Listen,
The
I travel to
Magnum?
work without an
Magnet.
issue.
He's got a magnet that says Brew Crime.
Oh, I thought you said Magnum. Like, you just have fucking condoms on your car?
That's cool. Real subtle.
You
Yeah.
just
They
slither
are
into a
that
parking spot.
big. Yeah, right.
Oh, Jeebus.
Overcompensating with my Hyundai Elantra, right?
Or just fucking hung as fuck.
Yeah, right.
I don't even need to compensate.
Wow. Oh man.
All
Well,
right,
this-
Mike, it's your turn to
Yeah.
talk about a tragedy.
Get a stop. Make a stop. Just talk.
I'm gonna have a sip of beer.
Well, that's yeah.
All right. Graeme Burton was born in 1971 in Lower Hutt, a city in the Wellington region of New Zealand. I wish I could get an actual date, but there seems to be little to no information on his younger life. We noted that his mother's name was Shirley and that she gave him up for adoption as a baby, but actually gave him up for adoption, wasn't stolen.
Didn't check him into didn't check him into a hospital,
Yeah, no.
right?
He would be adopted by an older couple, and he would be raised in Waterloo, one of the suburbs of Lower Hutt. As a toddler, he was known to be an artistic and polite child, whatever that means at a young age, I don't know.
Me?
You don't want to be equated to this guy.
Well, just the artistic part.
Yeah. Sadly, things in his life would start to go bad with the passing of his adoptive father in 1973 at the age of 2. So pretty fucking young. He would begin to act out, as can only be expected as a young child that lost his parent.
No, I was fucking 2 when my dad died, my real dad.
A lot of kids will start acting out. Maybe not
I did
this
not-
bad. They'll act out, but not like this.
I think at 2 years old, there's a reason it's called the Terrible Two,
there's
regardless
that
of what's
too.
happening. Every kid is different, right?
Yeah. Unfortunately, his adoptive mother would hold the fact that he was adopted over him whenever he acted out and threatened to send him back to where he was adopted.
Okay, what the fuck?
Yes.
Like
There's a bad
high schoolers make that shitty joke, "You're adopted," which is terrible. Like,
Yeah.
not parents. What the fuck?
Okay, but if any, see, my dilemma with the whole adoption thing is like, so we're children. Someone actually picked you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My mom ended up with me. Like, this is like, you know.
were specifically chosen.
Yes.
So you think there'd be less of like my parents are stuck with me versus like, no, they actually wanted your ass.
Yeah.
It's kind of great. Kind of a good thing. Like,
You'd think, right?
yeah,
Yeah, obviously it depends on why they ended up in childcare. You know, if your taken away from an abusive situation. Ooh, what the fuck ever? Your parents didn't want you. I get that complex, but it's like, someone actually, and it's quite expensive to adopt.
Yeah.
Like, this is a life plan to adopt. They wanted a child, and then you turn out to be a little fucking dickwad. Like,
Okay,
ungrateful.
but this mother is clearly a huge bitch.
Yeah.
You don't say
mother.
that to a
No,
child.
you don't.
I'll take you back right from where I got you.
Yeah.
Should have taken the other kid.
Did you keep the receipt?
Is it a 30-day buyback?
Do we have
Yeah, I want to
insurance?
test run this kid.
Yeah.
Go, Bobby, go.
I'd like a 30-day warranty, please.
At the age of 15, so it's a little past 30 days. At the age of 15, Graeme was already falling down a terrible path, with only exacerbated by the fact that he had a terrible relationship with his only parental figure. He would fall in love with using cannabis, LSD, and benzos, like Xanax and Valium. And, you can't forget alcohol.
The first one and the last one. Your bookends, I was with you. The
Yeah.
middle, though. The middle
Maybe
part
not
of the
at
story.
15
Not so
to be
much.
heavily using.
Yeah, well, okay. All right. You add the age in there, it gets worse.
Yeah. I could not imagine getting into these things at the age of like 15. When Graeme
But
was-
now it makes total sense.
no, but
Papa Zanny.
at that age, though, it's just so young to be into all these like hard drugs
I'm
and
gonna
alcohol
plead the
and cannabis.
fifth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Adulthood, man.
I'm like, how does a 15-year-old even get access to that variety?
Right?
I'm so naive. So
Yeah, I know. I don't know, and I don't know what that area was like at this time. Who knows?
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
When Graeme was 21 in 1992, he would start dating a child in Kelly Kirk, who was only 15.
Ew.
Yeah. Kelly would say that it would start out as a happy relationship, but things would turn dark quickly. It's almost like someone who is trolling for children is probably a terrible person. Kelly Kirk was looking for a bad boy, as that was what was popular at the time in Lower Hutt. The problem with bad boys is that they often turn out to be bad boys.
What you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Bad boys, bad boys.
Yeah. He would chain her to the bed for 2 days straight, though.
Oh my
Oh,
god, that took an
see-
abrupt turn.
That took
Yes.
an American highway left. Like, no point. Just
He was violent with her. She was told that if I left him, he was going to kill me and kill my family. He would get Kelly into all of the drugs and alcohol that he was into, and this would lead to a terrible life for her, well past when he would leave her life. As happens so often, Graeme had no real aspirations to work, but he needed cash for drugs and alcohol, and he would get the money through theft. It would not take long for him to have 91 convictions for burglary, fraud, and other quote-unquote drug-related crimes.
Sorry,
Oh,
what country is this in
91?
again?
New Zealand.
Oh my god.
okay. I expect this of America. I don't. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know about.
They're coming for you, America.
Yeah, no, they've got
crazy.
us. Like, that's
Yeah.
insane. We have the 3 strikes and you're out rule.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know. I don't agree with that.
No, neither do I, but you guys
Depends
do
what
have
the
it.
3 strikes are, but also
right.
for the
not
stories you
saying I
guys said,
agree.
some of those guys.
Yeah,
Okay, well, those a-holes deserved 1 strike, so...
true. So the same year that Graeme started dating Kelly, in 1992, they would go out to a heavy metal club in Wellington for some intoxicated fun.
Why are you going to ruin heavy metal for me, Mike?
Yeah, it's true. I would have to guess that Kelly must have had a fake ID, as my quick Google says the drinking age in New Zealand is 18 years old. Graeme would be out of his mind at the club on 6 different drugs, reportedly, as well as downing multiple tequila slammers.
I can't handle one.
Yeah. Make a decision. Like,
Yeah, I mean, technically 7 drugs, because alcohol as well, right?
Jesus. That's not a drug, Mike.
Yeah. It is a drug. So is caffeine, though.
Well.
Delicious caffeine.
I know, right?
Semantics.
Lifeblood. His behavior would get weird, as one would expect under all of those drug and alcohol, and he would piss on the dance floor.
Ew.
Yeah.
Like intentionally?
Yes.
Or like,
Yeah,
oh shit, I
intentionally.
pissed myself.
Intentionally. Probably didn't realize that everyone was around him because
Did he whip his dick out or did he pee in his pants?
It didn't.
Because that's
say.
going to tell us the difference. If it's a whoopsie or if it's like a.
It sounds like his
Seems like
psyche
malicious
sounds like he
content.
whipped it out. Yeah.
It does. Yeah.
Do you imagine being at the club and just getting pissed on? Be like, why is it warm?
Oh, that's my Friday night. No, I'm kidding.
Oh my.
This is why I don't go out.
Yeah. There
yeah.
you go.
No, I don't.
Oh, I'd be in jail if someone pissed on me in the club. That'd be the
Yes.
last
You
thing.
kill
That'd
them.
be the last thing they piss on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, jellyfish in
I
here?
don't think she's joking.
No, I don't think so either.
No, I believe you.
By my luck, I'd just be so drunk that I actually just peed myself. I'm like, oh, who did that? Who done that? Oh, wait, it's me.
The
Yeah.
person to the left is just like, they're done. It's it.
So it wouldn't take long for the security to catch wind of this and ask Graeme to leave. There'd be a struggle between
I'm
Graeme.
sorry. Are those really the words you chose? They caught wind of it? What's that urine stench? Get that guy out of here.
Man, it was just a really unfortunate breeze.
Yeah. So there would be a struggle between Graeme and the security, and it seems that the attempt was not successful at first. Graeme would turn to Paul Anderson, a man that he ran into, and would ask him if he worked at the club. It turned out Paul was a lighting technician for the club, unfortunately for him. Graeme would proceed to stab him multiple times with so much force that it was said that he would lift Paul off of his feet.
Oh my god.
Okay, listen.
Yeah.
This
Another
is just a
abrupt
story
turn.
of left.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Left.
I think
all
right
left.
turns, actually.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I was going NASCAR with it. My bad.
Yes.
I don't even like NASCAR, but I'm American, so we're going to go with left. But it's... God, the amount of force that it would take to...
I can't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nope.
So, of course, with this kind of attack, Paul would fall to the ground and die sometime later. Police would be called in and he would be arrested without second thought. After going to court, he would be found guilty and be given a sentence of 10 years before he was given the possibility of parole.
That's nothing.
Yeah. And that's 10, sort of like in Canada where that's the beginning of the parole eligibility. He's not just released, but it's still too short.
Even still. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like, so he kills someone and gets 10 years. Then JT, your guys kill someone. It's like, good behavior. You're a good boy. It's okay.
Yeah.
You just show up when you want to. It's fine.
At least this guy can't get good behavior until after 10 years. But yeah, still ridiculous.
Stupid.
Graeme would be just as shitty a prisoner as he was a person on the outside, as he would continue to be violent and find ways to do drugs. Kelly, fearing for her life, would stay with Graeme for about a year after he was sent to jail. She would finally get up the courage to kick him to the curb, and even with the glass separation between them, when she told him that it was over, rage would roll over his features, and she would fear for life again. Like, even with that glass separation, she was fucking terrified.
I mean, I just wouldn't go see him.
Right. If
Yeah.
anyone deserves to be ghosted, it's this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's unfortunately with domestic abuse, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, it's still like a very brave step of
Yeah,
her to
it's
be
not
like,
easy to
"That-
do."
It's it.
Right.
This is it. And maybe
Because
that's
he's still
what she
gonna
needed,
get out at some
right?
point.
Yeah, closure.
Yeah. He would write her letters for a while later, but the prison would stop his ability to bother her. But of course, he would send horrifying, threatening letters with other visitors to send to her.
Oh my God.
Why would they do that?
Yeah, but also if I was her, just any letter that came to me from the prison, I would just not even open
Yeah,
it.
I
Just
agree.
toss it.
Return to sender. Return to
Also,
sender.
like, it's like, how did he do that? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, if he has some money in the canteen, right? Like,
Yeah, I guess.
I'll
yeah.
give you 3 noodle packs if you harass her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
June 15th, 1998 would be a scary time for people around the prison that Graeme was being held at. Graeme and Arthur Taylor would escape from the prison with 2 other unnamed men. Of course, as any fuckhead abuser would do, he sent a letter to Kelly that said, "I'm coming for you. Revenge will be sweet."
Oh my God.
Yeah. At this point, Kelly Kirk had a few little ones from a different guy, and the police would rush out to get them and hide them from Graeme. So, they were squirreled away and kept safe at least. At least the police took it seriously. They absolutely didn't want more blood on this guy's hands if they could help it. When the men escaped from the prison, they would bury themselves under decaying brush in the forest so that infrared heat-seeking cameras on police choppers could not see them. I have to assume that one of these guys had watched the movie Predator, where Arnold covers himself in mud so the predator can't see them, because who the fuck just buries himself in, like, dead leaf matter?
Would that really work that quickly, though? I feel like...
No, and then you're just the asshole who got arrested with like a twig up his bum. Like,
Yeah.
Well, but it seemed to work.
Well, you know, you gotta get ready.
Yeah.
maybe it wouldn't work with cameras nowadays, but maybe back then.
Maybe, I
perhaps.
don't know, yeah.
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 But yeah, I highly doubt it.
So they would find their way to the coast through thick brush, with more than 100 police with military assistance looking for them. There would be police searching from land, air, and sea. They were very serious, and they intended to catch the men. All four would make it 10 days on the land before the plan began to fall apart.
Yeah, like I keep forgetting that this isn't in the States. And I'm like, you got like real spooky creatures there, like little chlamydia bears running around and like who knows what else. And that's a lot of days.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
That's spooky, right?
Yeah.
Chlamydia
I mean-
bears.
Chlamydia bear.
But you know what I mean, right? We all know what I mean, good on you. But
Yeah.
like, yeah.
So June 25th, 1998, the police would first find one of the men exhausted sitting against a tree. The other three would make it 3 more days after they broke into a vacation home. All 3 men were heavily armed from the sound of it and had every intention of doing whatever required to stay free. But when the police noticed a broken security light and searched the home, the 3 men would give up without gunfire.
Where do they get guns?
That's what I was gonna...
Maybe at the vacation home there was
Probably
some?
stealing it from homes, yeah.
I mean, no offense, JT. This isn't America.
Yeah, but if you're in the
Anything's
outback there.
Okay.
Because also like in New
Yeah.
Zealand they just recently outbanned fire guns when they had that mass shooting, right?
Yeah.
So because you said what, 98?
Yeah, I guess
No,
if it was
yeah.
more rural,
It
like,
was.
Yeah, it was.
there
Yeah.
would be like rifles and what.
Here's the bottom line. Everything that you all say, I legitimately agree with. There's
Yeah.
nothing you can offend me with because
I'm
it's all true.
spiritually Canadian.
I blame Mike for that, but yes, I'm happy to blame Mike for that.
Yeah. So this escape would add 3 years to all 4 men's sentences. While Graeme would fail many drug tests in prison, he would begin to clean up his act and try for parole. He would have many issues with violence in jail, but would attend a rehabilitation program for violence. They would not push for drug or alcohol rehabilitation, unfortunately.
Realistically, there's no point in forcing someone to enter drug
Yeah.
or alcohol rehabilitation. If they're not ready to do it, they're not going to do it.
Or they'll
Like,
do it and then relapse right away.
Yeah, exactly.
True. But
New Zealand's proving to be the most
Yeah.
forgiving country that I've ever met.
as of 2003, it looked as if Graeme was cleaning up his act altogether, probably because he knew that he was up for parole in 2005. During a psychological review with a psychologist, there were allegations of him assaulting 3 other inmates, as well as trying to offer $8,000 to another prisoner to kill a guard. The issue would end up in a report, but you know how that goes. On June 28, 2006, Graeme would be released from prison on home leave that were temporary leaves from prison. He would have full release on July 10th, 2006, though, after parole board said Mr. Burton documented improvement in conduct and release plan supports a case for a carefully managed release under close supervision.
Well, he's slightly less stabby than he used to be.
And he only drinks every other day. And he's down to 3 drugs of recreation. They're crack,
of
heroin, and
7.
PCP, but you
Yeah,
know.
exactly.
He found them all in prison. It's fine. It's our fault, but you know.
So, as a way to make his transition to life on the outside after 14 years inside, the parole board worked out that his biological mother, who had only met him a total of 12 times, would move in with Graeme in a 1-bedroom apartment.
What are we talking about?
If they do
That's
some
outrageous.
incestual stuff, I'm leaving.
No.
This is literally a Hallmark movie from hell.
Yes. So this was a huge deal.
Hallmark movie as written by Rob Zombie.
Yes. This was a huge deal as his biological mother had left New Zealand for Australia.
Yeah, we've only met 12 times, and I literally don't live in your country.
Yeah.
Let's
should
share a
totally get
one-bedroom.
together.
A one-bedroom.
So it was only for a month, but that is a big ask for a stranger, because at this point,
They're
she's a stranger.
strangers. Yeah, 100%.
They could not ask his adoptive mother, as she had died years early of cancer.
Oh, she didn't
That's
even want
sad.
him, so...
Yeah, no, I know, but I mean,
Yeah.
she
It's
had
still sad.
tried to get him.
Yeah, it wasn't an option.
No. In what can only be seen as a bad sign, Burton told his parole officer, "I'm going to kill my neighbor. He's keeping me awake and I'm losing it. I want to go back to jail. Put me in jail until you can get me another house."
Is this the theme for the evening?
I think so.
Where the
Sense of
air
entitlement?
quotes bad guy is like, please imprison me. You
Yeah.
can't trust me. And then no one fucking listens.
Or
And
did they?
bad
'Cause
things
we're-
happen.
That should say a lot, truly, about like just the random cases we've all picked that we didn't know each other picked, and all of a sudden it's just like all these people are just like, "Hey, don't let me out."
Yeah. Don't trust me. I can't
Yeah.
be trusted. And then someone dies or whatever.
So this was because the neighbor was nonstop banging on the walls, which to fair would drive you nuts.
Yeah.
I'm looking at you, kid upstairs. Because this fucking kid upstairs.
Well, listen, he's got clogs. It's he's
Yeah.
got his wooden shoes. It's you don't make fun of him.
Someone has to keep the Dutch tradition going.
True. So somehow
In
his release
Canada.
did not have any restrictions on drug or alcohol abuse. Two things that seemed to at least help his first murder happen.
100%.
He was also not required to join Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous, like just nothing. Once his mother had left, he started down the same old path he was on 14 years ago with drug and alcohol. This time, though, he added in assaulting drug dealers just for the fun of it. He would keep up on his parole requirements for a while, though, and would finally slip up when he missed a meeting with his parole officer, and he just called in for the appointment.
I need to take your urine sample. Well, I can piss on the phone if you want, but I can't actually make it down to the office today.
I'll piss on the floor.
Trust me, it's yellow.
Yeah.
Just trust me, it's yellow.
FYI, it's not supposed to be yellow. It's supposed to be clear.
He's clearly abusing drugs. If
Yeah,
he said
yeah.
it was clear, the parole officer would be like, haha, you lie.
Yeah.
Good point.
So obviously this wasn't allowed, but whatever. As I mentioned, he was assaulting drug dealers, but he would also steal their drugs and was using a lot of meth. He was also amassing weapons, which is not concerning at all.
Nothing like meth and a machine gun.
Yeah.
Bra-da-da-da.
It would come out later that the police even knew that he was heavily using methamphetamines and did nothing about it. So January 7th, 2007, he would attack a man in their apartment close to Graham's own house. Again, concerning. January 5th, Graham would again be involved in a home invasion in Lower Hutt. As you can tell, he was ramping up, back to working towards a reunion with jail. He would get his chance to go back to prison the next day on January 6th. He was dropped off by a friend in the hills of Wainuiomata to hide in a network of fire breaks. With him, he would have a ton of weapons. This is a quote from truecrimenzz.com. He had with him a loaded sawed-off shotgun, a loaded Smith & Wesson revolver, a large hunting knife strapped to his leg, a folding knife, and an ASP extendable baton identical to that used by police. He was also wearing a Kevlar stab and shrapnel resistant vest. The Maverick shotgun had been modified and it was capable of holding 5 shotgun cartridges, each of which contained 9 lead pellets of approximately 9 millimeter in diameter, so that's a fairly good size. Each pellet had the potential to inflict fatal injury.
I don't want to be like horrible, but it's interesting to me that in New Zealand they consider having 2 guns as being like fully weaponized.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Shit,
It's 'cause
that's
we're
a
so
Wednesday
conditioned
night
to
down
sad.
here.
It's so sad that
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, only 2 illegal
Well,
guns?
2 guns, but then also knives and a baton and
Yeah,
yeah.
but you know what I mean.
I mean, he came to party.
You know what I mean?
Like,
Yeah.
he for sure came to party, but yeah. We're just so conditioned to being like
know.
a duffel bag with like 10 sawed off, yeah.
I know. That's
And a
what's sad about
bajillion
it.
bullets.
That whole thing's in my right pocket. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you don't want to know what's in my left pocket.
Yeah.
Change purse.
Regret.
So Karl Kuchenbecker, a 26-year-old farmer from the area who was a father of 2, got on his quad and rode up the fire line. I'm not sure if he was working or just on a pleasure trip, but he would come around the corner right into the path of Graeme. Graeme would take a shot at Karl with his shotgun, and Karl would fall off his quad. Graeme would walk over to him and shoot him 2 more times with the shotgun, with pellets going through both hands. Obviously, he was trying to defend himself. He would be able to fight his way to his feet, though, before Graeme began to stab him multiple times. Once his lung was punctured, he would fall to the ground. The stab wounds were grisly, and Karl would not survive. 2 mountain bikers would ride past just after the murder, named Jeremy Simpson, 34, and Karl Holmes, 33. They would see the gun and try to flee, and Graeme would manage to shoot both of them in the arm. They would fall off their bikes just around the corner from the killer and get back on their bikes and begin to flee. 2 more mountain bikers would roll up, now named Nicholas Ray, 50, and his daughter Kate Ray, 18. And they would see Graeme getting on the quad trying to start it. They would then see the dead body of Karl and ask what happened. Graeme would say that there had been an incident.
He wasn't lying, though. There
It's
was
true.
an incident. Murder.
Yeah. The father went over to the body to try to give CPR and then grabbed his phone to try and call for help. Of course, there was no cell service, and Graeme would say that to him. Graeme would then yell, "No cell phones," and pull out the murder weapon. They would toss the phone into the bush as they didn't want to be killed. Graeme would then demand that Nicholas start the quad, as he had no idea how to start the quad himself. Karl was in the same boat, but after being threatened with death, Nicholas jumped on to try to get it started. Graeme would demand that Kate hand over her phone, but she didn't have one with her. Graeme would then take both of their backpacks and even accidentally shot Kate when he shot a warning shot into the dirt and it bounced up and struck her. So in a weird twist, he would apologize for shooting her. Giving up on the quad, he would have it disabled, and then he stole Kate's bike and took off. Once Graeme rode off, the 2 would turn around in the opposite direction and would begin to flee, and they would be able to flag down a car where they could call for help. 2 officers would respond to the call to try and find the 2 others that had been shot, as well as find the shooter, who they would find out was likely Graeme Burton.
Wow.
Yeah. With the 2 cops getting geared up at their car at the Summit Road gateway, the police heard a mountain bike and looked up. What they would see was the heavily armed Graeme riding towards them.
So he knows how to use a dirt bike, but not a...
Oh, mountain bike.
quad.
Mountain bike.
Oh,
Yeah.
How do you pedal this thing?
Yeah, exactly.
Left foot or right foot first?
I don't...
Where's the any key?
Is it a push to start?
The officers would draw their handguns and yell, "Stop, armed police." Graeme would bring up his shotgun and point it back at the police. As the officers' rifles were still in the trunk and unloaded, the officers bolted as they had poor cover and were outgunned. They would run about 50 meters before stopping and noticed that he wasn't following them.
He forgot how to start the bike. He's like, fuck. Couldn't
No.
remember.
Are we
They would
sure we're
start
not
to
talking
head-
about Elon? It sounds like Elon on a bike. Like,
Really?
He's viciously ringing the bell, trying to get the bike to start.
Yeah.
Ding, 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 ding.
doesn't this drive itself?
Yeah. So they would start to head back to the patrol car using as much cover as they could. They would arrive back to Graeme holding both Bushmaster rifles in his left hand and his shotgun in the right hand. One officer would shoot at him, but Graeme would sidestep the shot. The other officer would then shoot twice and strike Graeme with one shot to the thigh of his right leg, and it dropped him. There would be a struggle during the arrest, but they would finally arrest him. From murder to arrest, it was only 40 minutes. So he would end up losing his leg from that shot.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah. Graeme would end up pleading guilty to 11 charges to do with the murder and the shootings. The charges were 1 of murder, 2 of attempted murder, 2 of aggravated robbery, 2 of kidnapping, 2 of using a firearm against a law enforcement officer, aggravated injury, and injury with reckless disregard. He'd be sentenced to life imprisonment with no parole for 26 years. So finally, at least, just a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Graeme Burton was not done with his horrendous behavior, though, as he would attack Dwayne Marsh, a headhunters gang member in maximum security prison that he was housed in.
What's that now? Headhunters?
Headhunters gang, yeah.
Oh, so it's
Just a
the
gang.
name of a gang. Okay.
He would use a sharpened steel rod to stab him in the heart, shoulder, arms, and leg. Dwayne Marsh was rushed to hospital and would live, but Graeme would be convicted of attempted murder.
Yikes.
Yeah. In 2010, there would be an actual knife found in his cell, and guards would be investigated.
Yeah. How does that happen?
I don't know. 2018, Graeme Burton would be the victim of a horrendous attack at the same prison. Tay Ariki Pulgrain and Swiki Lesati, I think, would see Graeme punched in the face. And as he was hobbled by the one prosthetic leg, the two would pull out a shank. One would kick him in the head and face, while the other would stab him. So,
Not known for their security then.
no.
Okay.
I'm just going to skip the names because these are hard to say, but the one guy would stab him 40 times, while the other guy would stab him 10 times.
Oh.
It takes so long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be tired.
Well, somebody wasn't as committed
No,
to the
yes.
process.
Get a smaller knife. Okay.
Well, I think the guy that was kicking him in the head was the only one that stabbed him 10 times. He was busy. The first guards to arrive would wait for backup, and the attack would continue until backup arrived, and they threatened to pepper spray him.
Sorry, this is in
sorry.
America. You just shoot him.
They're threatening to pepper spray.
The attackers.
They may not have guns. I don't know.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, I don't
But-
know that the prison guards would.
They're threatening to pepper spray
The two attacking him.
attackers. Yeah.
attackers. For a split second, I thought you were saying
No,
they were.
yeah.
Yeah. Here we are.
So one of Graham's eyes would end up being stabbed, and he now has like severely diminished vision. Not sure what he's up to today, but I have to assume he is in pretty rough shape now. Graeme got out of jail and reunited with his drugs and alcohol, and that led to a reunion with the jail that he hated so much. So that's the story of Graeme Burton. He's still in jail now.
Did his
but
eye come out like an olive when it got stabbed?
it didn't say, but it does sound
Inquiring
like...
minds need to
Yeah,
know.
he's not seeing very well anymore.
This is literally the only case in which I've been like, boy, if it was America.
Yeah.
Wow.
They would have just shot and asked questions
Yep.
later.
Yeah, this guy is like true garbage. And I'd never heard of this before.
No.
It starts at mommy issues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, she's horrible. But
I mean, no pressure, right?
Exactly. So yeah.
yeah, she was obviously horrible. I'm not saying it was her fault.
No,
Because
yeah.
there are people that have horrible parents that go on to lead like perfectly
Exceptional life.
Yeah.
exceptional
Or just
lives.
even not horrible parents, but just horrible upbringings for many different reasons.
Yeah.
And don't
Yep.
don't have that happen.
Well,
Well, I think that just emphasizes the need for,
yes.
assistance.
Yes.
If somebody's not able to handle that, well, then they need a
Well,
little bit of assistance,
yeah.
and that's okay.
Like in my case, it's miraculous. I'm not agreeable to that term, but that the three sisters in my case all grew up to be like successful, strong women in spite of their parents, in
Yeah.
my opinion. And I mean that she could, I don't want to turn it away from your case,
No,
of
no.
course, but that she could forgive them is beyond anything that I can fathom.
Yeah, it's crazy. I couldn't
Yeah.
do it.
No, I couldn't do it.
No.
Wow.
I couldn't forgive any of these parents except for Nina's original parents that had no idea what happened.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're the only ones that probably are forgivable in this whole episode.
Well, they didn't
Yeah.
do shit.
Exactly.
Exactly.
But bizarrely enough, in your case, even the mother that raised her is more forgivable than the biological parents in my case.
Yeah.
The adoptive parents in your cases.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's insane.
Yep. It
Yeah.
sure is.
Wow.
Overarching
Yes,
themes.
absolutely. And we made it to 100 episodes.
That is annoying. Do it again.
This one?
Do it again.
Exactly. As soon as you said that, I was going to anyways.
Thanks so much for having us back.
Yeah,
It was good
this
having
is
you
nice.
back. It was nice to be able to, even with JT remotely, it was nice to have you back.
Y'all are wonderful. You know? And thanks for putting up with Mike for so long. And then eventually, allowing me to... There's no way I could fill your shoes. Having listened to you firsthand, there's no shoes... it doesn't even exist. I can't find the shoes. They're too far away. So it doesn't matter. Y'all are great. So...
That's nice.
But thanks.
It's fun. Had a
Yes,
good
it
time.
was. It was good to do this again with everyone this time. Alrighty, well, we probably should. Yeah, we should probably wrap this up because
Yeah, I'm sure it's quite late for you.
All my shit happens after 9
true,
p.m.
it's true, it's true.
Fine.
I'm like way up past my bedtime.
thanks for everyone tuning in and thanks for joining us again. It was awesome.
A pleasure.
Yep. Thank you for having us.
Bye.
Bye. Peace.
All cases on Brew Crime are written by Mike and JT or a writer we credit on the episode, and sources are put into our show notes for each episode. We always want to give credit to the people that research the cases we talk about. Check out our store at tpublic.com/stores/brew-crime-podcast, where you can purchase gear like t-shirts, phone cases, stickers, pillows, and all kinds of other cool stuff. Brew Crime's intro was created by Mike using Creative Commons Attribution licensed audio from purple-planet.com, soundbible.com, and freesoundeffects.com. Logo designed by Ben Greenberg. Thanks for listening to this episode of Brew Crime Podcast.
And then what did I mean to say there? I don't know. Then what used to be the export from that town? That's not even right either. Who knows? I see.
Okay, I'm gonna fix my headphones while you figure out your words. Do you hear the creaking, or is it just me?
Yeah, a little bit.
What the fuck is that from? Is my ear shiny? Like,
I don't know.
I don't like it. It didn't work.
Go ahead.
Okay, just JT, just go. I'll just
All right.
not move.
So
I'm not sure. I think that's right.
Are you looking it up?
yeah, you'd think I'd do a quick check before I said anything, but here we are.
That's no fun.
No, I'd rather be wrong.
Yeah. If people are coming here for journalistic integrity, you've entered the wrong room.
You hit subscribe in the wrong show. But that being said,
Yeah,
keep listening.
Warren's-
So June 15th, 1998 would be a scary time for people around the prison he was at.
Let me see.
Right at the bottom there. Oops.
Paramara. Paramara. The prison he was at, yeah.
Yeah.
Scratch that.
I like that
Paramio.
pronunciation. That's a good one. I like it.
Paramara.
Yeah. So